I briefly mentioned this story in my main segment over at youtube.com/Timcast, but I want to do a longer segment about it. The suspension of journalist Cassandra Fairbanks from Twitter for supporting Kyle Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse, as you know, is the young man who was defending himself in Kenosha and ended up shooting 3 people, killing 2. It is a tragic event that I think should not have happened for a lot of reasons. And I think it's fair to say Kyle should not have been there. He shouldn't have had to have been there. The police should have been there. The rioters should not have been there. And I wish none of it happened. However, Kyle has been charged, but not convicted. And he, like everyone else, is innocent until proven guilty. I've routinely said this about the rioters and the far left, the people I don't like. They're still innocent until proven guilty. But Facebook and Twitter are now banning support for somebody. And that's it. Before he's even been proven guilty of anything. Cassandra Fairbanks said he did nothing wrong. She got suspended. Let's read the story from Breitbart. They say, Gateway pundit reporter Cassandra Fairbanks was recently suspended from Twitter for tweeting her support of Kyle Rittenhouse, who was recently arrested over shooting of 3 rioters in Kenosha. In response, lawyers for Rittenhouse warned Twitter they intend to hold the platform fully liable. This is where things start getting spicy. They say, Gateway pundit reporter Cassandra Fairbanks' Twitter account was suspended earlier today for tweeting Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. Twitter claims that the statement is glorifying violence. A screenshot of the page can be seen below. She received a 12-hour suspension, and they say, we've determined that you violated Twitter rules, so we've temporarily limited some of your account features. While in the state, you can still browse Twitter, but you're limited, blah, blah, blah. A second email informed Fairbanks that she was suspended for tweeting her support of Kyle Rittenhouse, a teenager from Antioch, Illinois, who was arrested in Kenosha following a shooting of 3 rioters. They say protesters. Come on, Breitbart. That's all she tweeted. Cassandra tweeted on the 27th, and they apparently just suspended her. Rittenhouse has been accused of shooting 3 protesters, 2 of whom died from their wounds, although footage from the shooting has led many to argue that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. Fairbanks commented on the temporary suspension, telling Breitbart News, the fact that you can no longer defend someone on social media who has not been convicted of any crime should shock and terrify everyone. They want to control all narratives, and we are letting them get away with it. And she goes on to say, Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. John Pierce, attorney for Kyle Rittenhouse, condemned Twitter for suppressing a journalist's account, calling the act a brazen act of censorship and warning that he and fellow attorney Linwood intend to hold Twitter fully liable for its actions. Quote, a journalist just got banned from Twitter for simply posting Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. Twitter and other big tech companies are now engaged in brazen and outright censorship of political speech. They can no longer pretend to be neutral internet computer service providers protected from defamation claims by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. They have now stepped in the arena and are publishers. Myself and Linwood intend to hold Twitter fully liable to Nicholas Sandmann, Kyle Rittenhouse, and every other person whose life it has tried to destroy simply because it disagrees with their political viewpoints. On the same day that Twitter suspended Fairbanks, the platform was flooded with users glorifying the murder of a right-wing activist in Portland yesterday. Section 230 basically says that so long as you're acting in good faith, you cannot be sued for libel, like Twitter, basically, internet computer services. So if I comment on Twitter, you can't sue Twitter, you got to sue me. However, Twitter allows people to glorify violence straight up. Why ban Cassandra Fairbanks? Because they are not an internet service provider. They are a publisher of specific political opinion. Therefore, they have no protections and they can be sued. In this tweet, Jordan Black said that this is what patriotism looks like. I seem to remember an entire generation of Americans who killed fascists and were called heroes. This is in reference to Elijah Schaffer pointing out how Black Lives Matter said that they're not sad that an effing fascist died tonight. They cheered for it. This person said a right-wing fascist was killed in Portland. That's crazy. Showing someone dancing happy. This person said a fascist got killed in Portland, I see. And it shows someone sitting in a chair not caring. Republican fascist killed in Portland. In a comment to Breitbart News, a Twitter spokesman said, it is against the Twitter rules to condone or glorify acts or perpetrators of violence. Our teams are proactively reviewing and taking action on tweets that glorify violence. These tweets will need to be removed by the account owners before they can continue to use Twitter. Accounts dedicated to or repeatedly sharing this type of content will be suspended. Breitbart News report on the Wisconsin shooting incident can be found here. Breitbart News will update readers with more information. It's not just that they allow the left to glorify violence. Twitter actively allows the far left to organize. In one tweet, Andino says, more evidence of Antifa actually organizing as an organization and doing it on Twitter. Per their own words, they never openly identify as a member to outsiders. He then shows several images. An Antifa tweet says, it was brought to our attention that someone is attempting to imposter us. We would like to make it clear that we will not openly admit to strangers in any capacity that we are organizing as Pacific Northwest resistance. They say, if you have any information about a green-haired individual claiming to represent us, please reach out about further descriptions and identify this person. We would like to get to the bottom of this. There should be 0 instances of Pacific Northwest resistance members identifying themselves to someone not involved or affiliated with us. Stay safe out there. And you can see Antifa, mutual aid, etc. This is just one example of them using Twitter to organize and to encourage people to communicate and engage with them. Andino also says, Portland Antifa accounts organize on Twitter. This person from Occupy PDX, this is at Occupy PDX, saying, tonight we need blockade materials. Even if you could only drop things off, please do. Twitter is facilitating terrorism. At what point do we shut it down? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what Trump can do. Here's one. Antifa in Colorado are organizing 3 days of actions, often code for rioting at the state capitol. I don't care if they call it a riot. I don't care what they call it. It is a riot. They can call it whatever they want. They can say a picnic. We're organizing a bake sale. Bring your cupcakes. Bring your milkshakes. You get the point. If Antifa is organizing and they engage in riots, then at a certain point, they should stop being given the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not talking about an issue of free speech. I'm talking about the private platform, right? This is what they say. When Cassandra gets banned, they say, well, it was against the rules and she should have known better. This is against the rules too. They're not doing anything about it. They're allowing them to organize. Guess what? Some militia in Kenosha got shut down on Facebook. And all these lefties were screaming, why won't Facebook ban them? Yeah, why won't Facebook ban them, huh? Why won't Twitter ban them? I'm all about free speech, but organizing events is very different. On Facebook, the Kenosha group was apparently just saying bombastic things that some people said they likened to incitement. This is direct organizing. They could not engage in this behavior without Twitter. And Twitter allows it. Because I think, for one, Jack Dorsey is not really the CEO of Twitter. And I think he's just a figurehead. But I believe that still he and many others support this. They want it to happen. They want everything to be burnt to the ground. They do. Because they're destroyers. They're people who revel in destruction, pain, and suffering. Now, of course, they think they're the good guys. I don't know what their end game is other than just to destroy everything. And apparently that's good to them. There's a bunch of tweets of this man. Rose City Antifa organizing violence. Here's one. Antifa are organizing a riot. Just go to Andino's page and you can see him doing it over and over and over again. But heaven forbid a journalist defend someone who has not been convicted of any crime. What do you do? What do you do about it? I don't know. This is why I don't like Republicans either, because they don't seem to care about this. They don't do anything. Trump isn't a Republican. And I've said it many, many times, and many people have said it. But the time for action was a long time ago. You have Democrats fanning the flames, endorsing this. Joe Biden unwilling to actually go and confront the riots, and social media suppressing information, suppressing opinion that goes against their orthodoxy, their narrative. So what are we supposed to do if the commons have been taken over and they are being destroyed? A lot of people believe that a vote for Donald Trump could end all this. Maybe. I certainly am hoping at this point Trump wins to put an end to this, because it's been getting worse and worse, faster and faster. It is happening very, very quickly. I mean, you read these stories, it's funny. It's like these old dystopian novels, and one common thread is how fast it all happens. And it's true. It does happen very, very fast. But I got to tell you, man, even if Trump wins, it won't be enough. You will need you will need Republicans to win the House and the Senate and the presidency, and then to enact Section 230 reform. However, there's another bit of hope. With the lawyers threatening Twitter that they're going to sue Twitter, Twitter may have overstepped their bounds as it pertains to Section 230, and this may be the end for them. Because they engaged in such overt partisanship, they might have no defense. I don't know how it would work. Here's what I imagine would happen. Someone sues Twitter, Then Twitter tries claiming we will dismiss it under Section 230 grounds, but the lawyers will argue Section 230 doesn't apply because there is no interpretation of good faith protections when Twitter allows violence to be glorified. They're just removing opinions they don't like. In which case, how are they any different from the New York Times? Listen, the New York Times as a company has individuals who vet and post things. Just because Twitter doesn't pay people doesn't change the fact that they allow people to post things. If they're selectively removing things, not in good faith and not because it's objectionable, then I don't believe they will have protections and they should be sued for libel. Perhaps we just need a wave of people to file lawsuits against Twitter for libel and defamation when they get smeared. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes. Stick around and I will see you all shortly.